This is Scott from Scott Pulsini Trader, and this is the section on the sweeps indicator. Please take a second to read the disclaimer. All right, so the sweeps indicator is a very important add-on, another add-on from Bookmap that I use not only in helping me draw accurate zones with things like stop runs, but also to come up with a narrative on what's going on with the bigger money's urgency. The sweeps indicator add-on shows aggressive order book sweeping on the chart. This is important information because it shows the larger trader's urgency, not waiting for fills versus being patient, passively waiting for fills, which are icebergs, and instead sweeping prices to execute orders. There are also traders on the other side of these sweeps that are potentially getting run over, along with algos that are playing order flow games, which many times leads to puking, once they get run over as well. Although I have no official documented strategies in trading sweep areas on their own, one can mark the area and trade with the same type of rules as SI events, stop iceberg events, but I would suggest at least 3 to 4 times or more of our SI thresholds that are used for the SI events, and we'll get into that a little more. You click on this link and that'll bring you to the actual page. You can read about this a little bit more in depth. It's more just kind of settings, things like that, which you come to this page as well. This is just how you put the add on. We've gone over this for the SI indicator. It's the same thing for the sweeps indicator. You click up on this these 3 diagonal rectangle boxes, and you click the add-on after you download it. So that's the download. You can download directly from this document or from the document that I post. So these are my settings for the sweep. So I like to use the exact thresholds I use for stop runs for my sweeps. So CL, the stop run stops, or the threshold is 150, so I put 150, and we'll get into, you'll see why I do that to help me mark the stop run zones more accurately. This stuff's all default. You can mess around with this all you want, and if you want round or circle or squares or whatever, but this is all basically threshold. I don't have automatic mode. If you hit automatic, then it's doing a standard deviation of the however many minutes you have. I just want my set prices, but again, all this stuff's customizable. You can trade it, you set this up wherever you want. You can have sound alerts. I have the sound alerts for the SI indicator. I don't use it for sweeps, but you can use it for sweeps as well. And then on this side, this is just a continuation. I couldn't fit it all vertically, so this is just a continuation of this. I use, because there's so many colors on my chart with the stop iceberg indicator and the drawing of the zones and the liquidity, I use white for the aggressive buyer sweeps and black for the aggressive seller sweeps, which we'll see here. Another important thing you need to know is all stops are sweeps, but not all sweeps are stops. So this is a great example here. You can see the stop run was buy stops. You can see the sweeps with the white dots here that led to the stop run, and we'll get into this. So these sweeps actually came in first that led to the stop run, and we'll get into that in a second. But so you can see that was a stop run by the on chart, and the on chart is the red line and the sub chart. And you can see this sweep area was not stop runs, right? So all stop runs are sweeps because they have to be, because they're sweeping the order book to all these usually retail traders looking to get out of their trades. But not all sweeps are stops, right? Sometimes big money just comes in and sweeps the order book, which we'll see, which is important information, right? We'll get into a narrative. We'll probably come back to this slide for a couple different reasons. So, one of the main reasons I want the sweeps is to draw accurate zones. So, many times you get the red line, but on here, but it will start later, and we'll get into how the sweeps have first right to the order. Sometimes it starts after the sweeps have started. I started where the sweeps started because, again, these sweeps get first right to the order book. I'll go over that on the next slide. But another reason too is many times this sub chart, you'll see the sweeps start after. I'm sorry, the stop runs start on the sub chart after the actual stop runs come in. It's it's not a bug in Bookmap. They explained to me one time, I can't remember why that is, but just know, like, a lot of times you'll see this. Well, you'll know that, these were the stop runs that this is representing, right? So just keep that in mind. This one's pretty much spot on to where the start of the sub chart, but sometimes you will see a delay. So this is the examples I was talking about. So sweeps get first right to the order book, and then the stops get get to come in after the sweeps get initiate their sweeps and get done. So you don't know where these stops actually are. These stops could have been, we know they're not at that price, because if this stop run that fired off was at this price, it would have already triggered when this price touched, right? So I know it's not there, but I don't know if it was here or actually here where it shows on the chart, because again, the sweeps, whoever swept this order book gets first right to the orders. So they sweep these orders, they get first right, then the stops get to fire off. So you don't know whether the stops were here or here, right? So you're better off drawing your zone starting where the sweep started, as long as you know that that price is the price that started it, that the stop run could have potentially triggered. Like I said, it couldn't have been here because these prices already triggered or already traded. That would have triggered the stop run right away. So I draw it there down to the end, and you can see the sweeps on there. And this is another example here where you can't see the red line on here for some reason, but I would start this here. Even if the stop run came in here, for instance, I would start it there, because I don't know where these stops were placed in the sweeping, because these sweeps got first right to the orders. And then I think there was another example. Yeah, this is another example here, right? So these sweeps came in, triggered the stops. Well, where were this one actually, it looks accurate because the stops were there, right? And they didn't trigger the first time up. But granted, people can come in and throw stops in on the fly, but most of the time they're sitting there resting, so that price would have triggered, even though that looks like that price did trade there. So maybe someone did come in this instance and just throw the stops in, but I always just draw them where the sweep started. You're way safer doing that to be able to get a more accurate zone. And this one actually continued where you can potentially, I can't see on this if it doesn't look like a blip here, so I would actually draw that there. But when you see the sweeps keep coming in, you could incorporate this, and we'll get in this of trading these on their own as well. They're not as powerful, anywhere near as powerful as the SI subchart events, but there is something to be said of incorporating all of these sweeps in here if you elect to. But per my rules, I would probably just draw it there. You could bring it up to here depending on, it does look like there are more sweeps here. I'm not sure why that's not. Actually, this was sweeps down, so stop run down. This is just a rare. You don't usually see this. This is raw. Like, I don't understand why someone just dropped these in, because this would already triggered, and then all of a sudden you see sell stops going the other way, which is strange too. So this is a strange example, but it is what it is. You can see it right there too. So there were buy stops, sell stops. So I would incorporate all these, because we talk about you just want to get these areas where you get as many traders as possible that are loaded up, and that's how I would draw that zone. This is an exception, and you don't usually see buy stops, sell stops right on top of each other. But draw the zone and come up with a thesis on what's going on here once the market moves away, like we do with our NASI event. Went over that. So there's a way you can also use these sweeps to form a narrative. This was actually today, August 21st, 2023, where you can see, like, when you look at this entire page, there are very little sell sweeps, right? You got a little blip there. At the end of the day, some came in that actually pushed this market down 40 points after, right into the close. But point is, you're looking at this. These sweeps were stops. Not all of them were stops. You can see this is 1100. I think this was 130 and 120. So only 250 out of 1100 were sweeps, right? So that's what started it, and then you can see it just keeps coming in. Doesn't mean they sweep and it just always takes off from there. Sometimes it could retest prior areas. So you can see this one started to fail a little bit, but then it held that one, right? The whole point is, I'm not talking about trading off of these in this instance. I'm talking about coming up with a general thesis, right? So if you just see the sweep, someone keeps buy sweeping this thing, that can give you confidence, especially if you see like an iceberg event come in, and we'll see that example coming up, where this thing's going much higher, right? Because there's no sellers being aggressive. You have this one little blip there. It looks like there might have been a little try there, but definitely the buy sweeps are outnumbering the sell sweeps, right? Even the ones that aren't stop runs. So narrative there. And then this is an example of coming up with opposite narrative, right? So there weren't a ton of buy or sell sweeps here, but when I'm looking at this, as far as like, hey, what's going on in this market, you see buy ice come in here. We talk about this in another video, drawing that zone, and then you see someone come in and sweep the order book. Well, guess what? That market never even got above this area. It never got above the buy ice area. Big money was trying to buy it there. I think this was close to 1,000. And then someone came in and swept 1,800 contracts. The market did not react, right? So what you just use common sense. You're either this buyer here or you're this buyer here. What are you thinking when the market does this? Once it moves away, you're saying, okay, I was wrong. When this comes back, I'm getting out of my buy sweeps here, and that leads to the move down, right? And then you had some sell sweeps here. I have no idea, no one does, but I would be willing to bet there's a good chance that whoever swept this right here said, yeah, okay, I'm out, right? So this is, this give you very, very important information. And then you got to be careful. I don't pay attention to sweeps at the close because you get these cross currents, big money's got to get out, hedge, whatever they're doing. This stuff's not important to me at the close. And, I'm on Pacific time right now. This was also August 21st, that was today. I don't pay attention to that, but this was good information that this market was not going to continue higher, especially when there's that patented move away, retest failure. But the minute you're watching this thing and the minute this market moves below this area, you got to be like heads up. So if you were long and you're watching this, you're like, yeah, I got the big money behind me. Yeah, someone's swiping it. All right, this thing's going to rip. And then you see it just spinning here and start to move below. You could be like, okay, I'm getting out of some here. There's something up. And this thing did move down, 7-8 points into the close. So this is the section we'll go over briefly on using these areas for tradable events. I don't trade off of these by themselves. You could, but I highly recommend you use multiples of what we use for the SI events, right? I don't know why that is. It just is. So, these were smaller stop runs. I think we can actually look on the chart here. Let's take a quick look here. That was NASDAQ. Let's see. I had this set up. I think I messed it up, though. Give me 1 second to bring this back up. Just want to show you the stop runs there. Let's see what time that was. A little bit before 12:30 my time. So I just want to show you how, it was some stop runs, but the rest were just sweeping the order book. Let's see, that wasn't it. Where did it go? I had it set up in the night. Can't find it now. Oh, this is it here. Sorry about that. All right, so you can see here, some of these were stop runs, but this was 1,700 contracts, right? So you had 136 here or 90 here. If I can zoom in a little bit. You had 136 not threshold, 139 not threshold. You add them up; these are back to back. Yeah, 260 threshold. You could just draw a zone just based on this stuff alone. But you can see here, and this aggregates too when you zoom it in. I'll show you that. But I mean, this was 1,200 swipes. So this wasn't all stop run. Yeah, there was 250 stops, but there's probably another 1,000 behind it between this and this. So you can trade these areas if they're multiples of the threshold. Quickly, let me just show you here since this is a live example. When you scroll in, it aggregates it all, so you just know, hey, there was 1,500 sweeps in this area, right? And then another 220 here, very important. And you can see if you were to draw a zone on this. So NASDAQ, the threshold is 150. So if I'm going to trade sweeps, I need to see at least, for me personally, at least 600 sweeps. So this, if you want to trade this as a tradable event, say these weren't here, because you would already be drawing the zone most likely off these stop runs. But say this wasn't here and I saw that, I've done it before. I don't do it very often, but because I just focus on SI events. But you could say 1,700 sweeps in this area. These are traders loaded up. Somebody came in here and swept them for 1,700 contracts, and this is the same pattern. You can see it moved away here. Granted, again, this was an SI event, but this moved away. This is exactly where we retested. So just imagine you're the entity on the order book and the offer over here, or multiple people, whoever it was, they get run over. The market does this, and you're holding your breath. Please come back, so you can buy and get out of these, and then that leaves the next wave up. So it's just uncanny how often this pattern happens. The point is, if you see multiples, I don't know why. Once again, it's got to be 3 to 4 times at least. My recommendation to trade these areas, but you can trade these areas independently of the SI events, and you can see that moved away. This is another one. So this one's not as clear cut right away. So I'll show you this live. This was today as well, but overall you can see there were 3,000 buy swipes in this area. So what's good as well is, you say you draw this event and then you see buy swipes too. So this is 2 different types of orders coming in here. You got passive buying, someone's buying it, secretly, or hidden orders buying, and then you got somebody swiping it for 3,000. That's telling you it's very likely to do that. But if it doesn't, it's just going to lead to a bigger move to the downside, right? But you go by just like what we do with our ATR event or our ATR trades and marking these events. We want to see how it moves out of here to decide which way it's going to go. But that is a very good sign. And let me just show you what that look like on here. Very good sign that that market's going to rip. Why did this disappear? I had this set up. Oh, sorry, wrong one. Trader Mac Pro. Sorry about that. Here we go. This is what I was referring to here. Let's see. It still wasn't set up though. I know I put this in here. Hold on. Right here. So, right away you don't really know what's going on in here. You see this is aggregated, remember. So if I spread this out, there was 1,000 sweeps, 277 stops, but another 800 was sweeps. Then there was some sell sweeps, right? 2,800. And then there was 2,000 buy sweeps, right? So it's like, okay, the buyers, there's not more buyers and sellers in this area. But then, so this is a great example, right? So you're watching this, you're like, well, okay, they tried to buy it, it didn't really go. Someone tried to sell it, someone bought it again, sweeping the order book. So you got total of 3,000 buy swipes in this area. I call them swipes too, I like swipes better. But then all of a sudden, you see buy ice come in, threshold buy ice, right? So these are the hidden orders. You got 900. What are you thinking to yourself? All right, somebody's being aggressive, somebody's buying it passively. As long as this area holds, I want to be long, right? As far as a narrative. And there you go. Market rips out of this area. So really, really important information. And I mean rips out of this area, right? And then you had another one here. Say you got long off of that area. It's, iceberg, yeah, that came in after. But say you just played this event, right? And you get this event. These were some stops too, but you can trail your stop to just below that area because it shouldn't, if this thing's going to continue up, it shouldn't violate that sweep area. So you can see how you can come up with a narrative and actually trade these events. Very important. And then, ripped all the way up here. And the close, it sold off a little close. They started sweeping a little bit. I don't have that part in here, but it's just really, really, really important information. And that is it for the sweeps section. Like I said, very important. Highly recommend. You need Global Plus. I actually need to add this in this presentation. You need Global Plus for this. You can get Global Plus on my website. I'll have all that on here as well to get the discounts. So that's the sweeps indicator. Thank you.